15, the Graham Condon R&R Cycle Shutdown closeout report. We've got Alistair Pearson to present this one. So, Alistair, any comments or anything you particularly want to draw to our attention from this report? We'll take the report as read, but just any introductory remarks. Thank you.
Thanks for allowing me to do this. The key things first is I just want to acknowledge a couple of members of staff. Matt Cummins, as a senior project manager, was very influential in getting this piece of work done, but also the obvious change request that's occurred during the process as well, which was to take benefit through one of those things that Councillor Keown just mentioned, which is around making a benefit at the time when we were shut down through COVID, that we could do other works and take advantage of that time, and that was done in a very succinct manner. And between Dave Pritchard as the Centre Operations Manager and Matt Cummins, we saw that happen quite quickly. So, and then the other things to mention quickly are I just wanted to cover off I'm working off multiple screens as well as most people in this world that we live in right now. I wanted to cover off the purpose, but you don't probably want to go through that too much, but certainly something around the sustainability would be worth mentioning, and the efficiencies that were added in during the process. And just wanted to talk about the fact that we did enhance all of the LED lighting facilities throughout the area, and we also looked at efficiencies that were offered through the pool plant machinery, the mechanical plant, and the HVAC plant, and the new BMS system that was applied at the same time. So not only did we tidy the place up, which had been deferred for quite a long time due to the earthquakes, that we also added in and took a chance to upgrade all of the equipment for giving us sort of whole life benefits as we work through the process. So there have been some real advantages to the process we went through. We had a sort of limited budget at start. We took time to reconfigure ourselves as a team and review what we could do in the shutdown, and we applied that period of time, bringing some money forward from the FY21 budget into this project. So we maximised what we could do at the time to ensure that we didn't have a further shutdown long term. So that's the synopsis, really. The last person I do want to make mention of is Amanda Legg. Amanda Legg from our comms team was an exemplar of what we'd expect to see across council, and in the work that she did to communicate to the community, but also to maintain those communications throughout the process, because Graham Condon is an exemplar pool, if you will, of use, and is in high demand at all times. So during that shutdown period, it demanded a higher level of communications to the public in the area, and that was done. And again, we've noted that within the closeout report. So they're probably the key things that I want to talk to, really, without taking too much more of your time.
All right, thank you very much indeed for that, and thank you for the report. Let's now move to any questions. Are there any questions for Alistair on this closeout report? So Yanni and then Aaron. Yanni.
Yeah, thank you. I was just wondering, did the Ministry of Education contribute any money to the maintenance? What's the relationship?
Not that I'm aware of, but I do have Ben Rosker available. He's in the background. There he is. He's online now. Ben, you might be able to answer that.
Yeah, I can. So not in regards to this project. We're currently a subsequent project. We're looking at replacing our heating source. We currently share a wood pellet burner with the Ministry of Education. So in the next financial year, we are looking at moving away from that to a cleaner energy source. So we're in talks with the Ministry of Education at the moment to see if we can have a combined solution. But with the previous project Alistair was talking to, there was no capital involvement from the Ministry of Ed.
And does the school use the gymnasium?
Yes, they do. Yep. So we partially own. They own one of the sports halls. We own the other. So we have a quite interesting relationship with the school. But they definitely use the facilities.
And do they contribute? Do we charge them for using it?
Yes, correct. We charge them at a lower rate, but we charge them for using the facility.
Okay. I just wondered why we wouldn't get money from them to maintain the gymnasium?
Sorry, the works that took place and this upgrade were related to the fitness gym and the pool areas. There was minimal works that took place in the sports hall.
Oh, okay, cool. And then just the other thing I was trying to understand, like, just, I guess the whole change request process, why we as elected members don't, I mean, it just seems really frustrating that we spend all this time in an LTP discussing a lot less amount than what the change request is. And so, you know, we'll have arguments over, or debates over $30,000 or $150,000. But then we get these change requests that can go, in terms of a percentage of the project, are, you know, nearly 100% of the cost. So, you know, we had another one the other day, yesterday, in the Parks report around the Linwood Village, and we were told it's gone over budget, and therefore we're not proceeding with the options, and we're going to do all these other things instead. But, you know, it just seems to me unclear about why these change requests get approved in this way when we've got other projects that get put on hold because there's not sufficient funding. And as elected members, I just don't quite understand why we don't get more of a discussion.
In this instance, I think it was there's allocated funding anyway for the upgrades, and it was brought forward to maximise the time in contract and the time during the shutdown. Ben can correct me if I'm completely wrong on that, but that was the intention, was to still utilising funds, but rather than having two established shutdowns over multiple years, we decided to do it all in one hit in order to maximise what we could do at the time within the time we were given. So that was the purpose behind it. So it was just best intent at the time, really, which was to maximise what we could do.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, thank you.
Right, thank you. Now, Aaron, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had two. Thanks, Alistair. The first one is around the budget variation, because it doubled. With the original budget, how come the original scope was so far off the mark? Was it set a lot earlier than?
The original budget was met. I believe that when we went through the process to what else could we do while we were entering into this phase, because we'd only just gone into contract with Armitage Williams at the time, and we could at that point make a move to change. So our budget covered the work that we were doing, which was the upgrade to the sports area and the pool area. But then we looked at the facilities and the service changes that we could make at the time. So that was why there was two budgets for two different separable portions, if you will, over multiple years. And we've decided that we could maximise everything with one contractor at one time and run that contract simultaneously. So we did.
Okay, that's cool. And then the other question is a follow on to that, with because you mentioned earlier some sustainability measures and things. Do we have a measure here, and I can't see it, and it might be there, but around what savings we make from that in OPEX?
Not in the closeout report, but Ben, you might have some input into that over the future years and how we measure it. I know on other projects we do, you measure BMS over a 12-month annual sort of period so that we can see what the savings are. But the savings are also noted, not savings, but the efficiencies are noted when we go into contract, but also when the piece of kit that we define for the project as well, as to what impact that will have over the life of the project. Ben, have you got anything further to add to that?
Not in regards to the project we're talking about, but again, going forward with a replacement of the wood pellet burner, there's definitely savings that we will see, and we're going through that exercise at the moment. A lot of the things that we did in the last year's project had sustainable initiatives, but we can't really see the benefits for that. So that could be using the rubber flooring in the gym, which is made from recycled tyres, low flow shower heads, so we can look at a water reduction, but it's quite hard to get those readings. But there are things outside of electricity and savings, but just by purchasing goods that have either been produced in a sustainable manner is one way we look at it as well.
Yeah, because it'd be good going forward to have tools that not just your department, but all departments can use, that when we say sustainability, and if there's a cost savings, it's easier to make decisions when we say, yep, we're going to do this, this, and this, and these are the ongoing savings. And that way it can help with decision making, I think.
Thank you. Pauline.
Yeah, thanks. I did have my hand up before, but I'd pushed the wrong hand. It was the waving hand instead of the hand up.
I noticed you were clapping rather than hand up, and at one point you were both. But
could you
okay.
could you hear the sound of that one hand clapping? I'm just wondering. Hey, thank you, Alistair, also for calling out the staff when they do a really good job. I think it's really important that the staff who are named and recognised. So thank you for that. My question is around the Graham Condon pool opened in 2012, so only 9 years later we're upgrading the showers and the change rooms and the flooring and that sort of thing. And I appreciate the fact that you've taken the opportunity to get in there and do some improvements. But can you tell me what's the expected life of this upgrade?
Great question. I'd have to go away. I'd have to go away and see what we established through the procurement process as to what our expectations were written in the plan. I could talk to the fact that I think that the Graham Condon pool in particular is heavily endorsed by the public, and it's probably harder worn than most. But Ben, you might have something you could add. It's a shame we haven't got Dave here, but
yeah, I can speak to that briefly. So every year we're looking at a refresh. So this piece of work was quite a major piece of work, and again that was due to the earthquakes and the network being reduced. We could only close it when we did, but every 3 years we'll have an operational shutdown. So for example, we're planning a up to 2 week closure of Taira QE2 in the upcoming cycle. That's only 3 years old, but we're trying to keep on top of the maintenance within these facilities. And then every 6 to 9 years, we look at a major refurbishment. So this one that we've done at Graham Condon should be refreshed every 3 years, and then a major refresh every 9.
Well, it sounds almost like an LTP, doesn't it? So they're pretty expensive units to run, and not just in operational, but in the capital as well, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Yanni, you've got something further?
Thank you. I was just trying to align with the program, the CPMS sheet on Graham Condon, which had 630,000 in the year 21-22. So it's got a different project ID, but obviously that was because it was the R&R rather than the R&R cycle shutdown. Is that correct? So I just want to be clear that both of these budgets were tagged for Graham Condon, and we've obviously got an amended LTP that's created cost savings. I just can't align the budget and the CPMS shape.
Yeah, I'll try and answer that. I think maybe what you're looking at. So this funding for the project would have been in FY20. So the money for FY21-22 may be aligned to the boiler replacement that we're looking at potentially. That's my thoughts.
So have we still got another 630,000 we're going to spend on this pool?
On the boiler upgrades at this stage, we've allocated 600 plus to replace the wood pellet burner with a more efficient energy source. So yeah, there is still budget for that.
Is that? Oh, okay. Did we consider doing that at the same time, or?
We've been looking at this for quite a few years. We're working with the Ministry of Education. The current wood pellet burner has still got a lifespan until 2027. But the last 2 years we've been working with the Ministry of Education. They've got a master plan for the redevelopments of their facilities. So they're replacing 2 full blocks of their school. So we were trying to time it with them, but there'll be minimal impact to the facility when we change heating sources. We can literally flick the switch overnight, so there'll be no impact. So we don't require a shutdown for that.
Except it's costing us another 630,000. 5-6 years ahead of when we'd need to spend the money.
If we decide to do it this calendar year, which we are looking at, but the savings and the payback from that, we're looking at operational savings of just at a rough glance at the moment, about $80,000 per year.
Right. And again, we're going to get the ministry to pay for any of this?
Yes, if we have a combined solution, we will definitely be getting contribution from them. At this stage, we're still working out whether we can do a combined solution.
Okay. I'm just mindful of what happened at Kiwi2. So I guess at a governance level, if there's anything we can do to support the joint up approach. Thank you for clarifying that. I think the CPMS sheet isn't really clear that it's for the boiler. So I don't know whether that's something we can pick up. But thanks for the closeout report and the work that you've done. Cheers.
All right, thank you. I'm not seeing anybody else indicating questions at this time. Are there any further questions? All right, so we've got a recommendation in front of us, which is to simply receive the information in the report, which I'm happy to move. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah.
Was that Aaron?
Yes.
Yep, great. So moved by me, seconded by Aaron. Is there any debate on this? All right, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. So the